Scope is where the variable can reach. And so if you have a variable, you can simply print it. Now, but in the context of functions, let's say you keep this, you can define a function which adds two numbers, x and y. And then you can say sum is x plus y, return the or print the sum. Now if you were to call the add function, you can specify an x and y. So let's say 1 and 1. And if you were to run it, you'll see first the x is 3, so it starts here. And then you'll see that it calls 1 here. And if you were to print x again, you'll see x is still 3. So x is 3 here and x is 3 here, even though in the function we have a parameter named x. So this is another x which is only known inside the function. And so this is what is known as function scope. So even if you were to put the x here, this will still be another x. So this x, these variables defined here, are only known inside the function. So it doesn't matter how many variables you have. You can have x, y, z, and then some function which takes input x, y, z, and let's say that will output those. Then the x, y, z are only known inside this function. So you can call my function with 789 and then output x, y, z. And you'll see first calls my function with 789 and it outputs that, and finally we print x, y, z, which are still 1, 2, 3. So the functions you define, or the variables you define outside the function, are totally irrelevant. Only the variables in the parameters can actually be used. Now that's why these values of x, y, z don't change. Now if you really want to use a variable defined outside the function, it's called a global variable because it can be used anywhere. However, it's not recommended. And so you can do that if you are to define the variable as global. So you can say global x, and now you have the x variable outside the function. However, this is not recommended. You want local variables, because if you use your local variables, the function can be reused in other parts of the code, and it's much easier to understand than have your variables all over the place. So you want to have local variables. You want to have these variables defined as parameters and then used. So now if you run it, you'll see we have 3, so x is 3, but the other x is still 1 because of the function scope. So this x cannot reach here unless you explicitly define so. That's why now you have 2 variables of x. So you'll see 3 and 1, we call it with 3. In the function it's 3, but then it returns to the program, and then we have the global variable x,